Hello and welcome to another video and podcast from fantasyfootballscout.co.uk. My name is David and today we're going to take a look at how my team has got on in Game Week 15 and what my plans are for Game Week 16. Now, before we go any further, I must issue something of a disclaimer. If you are allergic to red flags or generally find it difficult to look at FPL teams with huge problems, then now is the time to look away because the wheels have come off my season in almost spectacular fashion. To be perfectly honest, the wheels kind of came off in Game Week 14, and in Game Week 15, things like the brake lights and the windscreen and everything else has fallen off too. So I'm basically just sat here with pretty much just a steering wheel and a car seat at this point, and I really have some work to do. Holding off on deploying that wild card until Game Week 19 is taking its toll, as I've said on the General's Orders podcast many times this season. Part of me's going, what has it cost to keep it in my back pocket for this long? Well, quite a lot so far. I've dropped down to 285k, was about 70k even just 3 or 4 weeks ago, and it has been a difficult time. Now, I've got lots of problems to solve. A lot of them are in defense, and of course, I do have the issue of Mbermo as well. Now, if you are looking for some Mbermo solutions, then there will be plenty of other videos out on the channel, in either out already or in the next couple of days, taking you through those. Because my team is really short of some defensive options, I'm largely going to focus there for my team on this particular occasion, and just kind of avoid kind of rehashing some of the same material that some of the other content creators are going to be going into. So let's have a look at how my team got on. But before we do that, just a quick reminder, you can still get 20% off on your Fantasy Football Scout membership if you haven't sorted it already. Obviously, we've got a couple of days until yet another deadline. So, have a look at the offers available on site. You can get a 7-day free trial as well to test things out. Why not get a 7-day free trial for the final set of matches for Game Week 15 and have a look at that match data as it comes through and use it to help make some of your decisions. But speaking of decisions, let's take a look at what difficult and basically terrible decisions have led to this being my Game Week 15 team. Now, so far, I'm on 24 points. I'm recording this on Thursday. I'm not expecting too many more points from Thursday evening's matches. So if you're checking this out on Friday, then you will, of course, at this point already know what Jared Bowen did for my team. I'm actually quite pleased to see that he is a bit of a differential. So whatever he does will help me, but I do have no starting Spurs players. So I'm a little bit worried about being exposed to that. And I also have no starting Newcastle players either, also exposed to that too. So I'm kind of anticipating that my rank might even be lower by the time Friday comes around than it is at the time of recording. My team, as it stands so far, is Johnston, Anderson, Cash, Tsimikas, Saka, Diaby, and Mbermo, Salah, captained, Bowen, Haaland, Alvarez, with Turner, Archer, Estupiñán, and Van de Ven on the bench. And you may ask, how has he let it get this bad? Well, I have had a number of game weeks this season where I've been able to just kind of muddle through with a few options short on the bench. And I was always telling myself I would need to beef up that bench by the time the Christmas rotation came around. I actually felt like I was in a relatively solid place with it this particular game week, especially with Diaby, Cash and Tsimikas. Felt there was strong reasons to assume they would start this game in particular, and I would maybe be able to put off sorting my bench out until next time out. But as we already know, that festive rotation has already hit, and it has hit hard. My team especially, because at the time of you guys watching this, just 2 points from 4 defenders and only 2 of them actually played, and I won't be getting any auto subs because Estupiñán and Van de Ven aren't fit. Now, you might be wondering what my transfer was for Game Week 15. I actually didn't make one in the end, which was something of a bit of a forced situation. I actually had a family emergency on Tuesday that took all of my time up, and as ever, I always say family comes first, and there are things more important than FPL. So by the time that family emergency had resolved itself, it was about 5:55 p.m. UK time on Tuesday, and my phone, because I'd needed to use it quite extensively, had just 1% left on it. So I've got 5 minutes left before that deadline. 1% battery, and I'd had some ideas of maybe doing some transfers. But the problem was that, as we'd been talking about last week, there just wasn't really anyone I really loved. And with that length of time left and the possibility that I might not even be able to make the transfer that I wanted to with just 1% left on my phone, and I was very far away from my charger, I should just point that out, I just decided, look, I'd rather roll than make a transfer kind of rush it, and not think it through properly. So would I have maybe made a different decision if things had gone a bit more smoothly in my life on Tuesday? Maybe. I'm not sure. I'm trying not to be too, sort of frustrated about. I mean, I'm not disappointed at all about the circumstances that led to me not being able to make a transfer with, being able to sort of plan it properly. because such is life. You can't change anything. And I'm sort of wondering from a perspective of FPL that it could actually be useful. My team needs some major surgery, and I do now have the 2 free transfers I've been kind of looking for a while. It wasn't really my first choice, but as I said, my life has made that choice for me. So let's just roll with it and see where we go. And yeah, as you can see, I really need to fix my defense. Now, there is a yellow flag on Burmo. We don't know the latest on that yet, although you might be watching this after we've had some updates. So, yeah, let us know in the comments if you know what the update is. Although, of course, I joke really because we will have an update or whatever that update is in the team news video on Friday with Joe and Neil. So do stay tuned for that live stream and you will get all the information we know as and when it comes. So, bearing in mind that I've got Diaby and Burmo, either one of those guys can get sold for Cole Palmer this week. That's a fairly obvious move because it's finally the Gameweek 16 fixture swing for Chelsea. That's fairly obvious, and I can do it with either of them. I've got money in the bank. I mainly just want to talk about what I would do in defence. So here is my bust team for Gameweek 16, and I'm using planfpl.com, which is super useful. Gives me an idea of how my team is going to look in a couple of weeks' time, because even though my team is a mess, I still feel like I want to stay the course. I want to keep on pushing on to wildcarding in Gameweek 19 because I still feel like it is the best time to play it. And I'd rather wildcard from a position of sort of positive choice rather than a position of necessity. And I feel like with the 2 free transfers, a -4 can do enough surgery this week just to get me through the next couple of weeks, maximise Game Week 18 and get into that 19 wildcard. So then Plan FPL was super important. Helps me look at who's got good fixtures in 18 when I bring them in, just visually in a better way than the FPL site does. So do check out planfpl.com if you haven't done already. And so this is my team. This is my bust team A, and this is in a world where Mbeumo is fine and Diaby is the one I sell because he's just not starting enough games. It will be Palmer in for him. Then this is my bust team B, and I should apologise. On bust team A, I forgot to switch my captain. I would obviously be rather captaining Haaland against Luton than Salah against Palace. This is my bust team B, which involves holding Diaby. If we get some inclination from Emery that he wants to start him again, and Mbeumo's not fit, then Mbeumo to Palmer makes a bit more sense. But you'll be noticing some big changes in defence. So Estupiñán and Van de Ven, they're going this week because this week and the week before has shown me that I do finally need to solve that problem. And the reason why I've been putting it off is because the alternatives have been really naff. I just really haven't been particularly fussed by any of them. And I'm glad I've waited another week because I feel like a couple of options have stood out to me. And so, yeah, the first one is Trippier. I think with the fact that I've plummeted somewhat from away from everyone else, I do need to kind of cover myself against what other people have in their team. I'm not the sort of person that likes to respond to dropping out of a rank bracket I wanted to be in by going completely differential. I will have a differential, and you've probably already spotted him if you're watching this rather than as a rather than listening to it. We'll come to that. Build some suspense for the podcast listeners. I like to try and anchor myself a little bit with someone that everyone's got. And Trippier is causing me huge problems. I'm recording this before he plays on Thursday night. So for all I know, he's injured by now. But if it's not him, it would be another Newcastle defender for a number of reasons. Because, I mean, do I really need to go through why Trippier is looking good right now? I mean, if you don't have him, then I suppose it's useful to know a couple of things. So at the time of recording, in the last 6 matches before the Thursday night matches in Game Week 15, Newcastle have conceded the fewest big chances of any team in the Premier League over the previous 6. So clean sheet opportunities are good, even though it is Spurs. It's really the fixtures after that I'm interested in, to be honest, because you'll see that it's got Fulham and then Luton in 17 and 18. But also, Trippier can get attacking returns against basically anybody because his own attacking stats are brilliant too. So in that last 6 matches, he's created 14 chances. Only 2 defenders have created more. His 4 of those have been big, and the only one to have fashioned more big chances than him is Trent Alexander-Arnold, but he obviously can't quite fit in my team at the moment. The goal threat, he's less of a goal threat as Trippier, but what it all sort of condenses into is that in terms of his expected goal involvement over the last 6, Trippier is by far the best defender. So he's fixture proof. We know that anyway, but it's just about time. It's just about time I got involved in him. And if I want to try and tackle Game Week 18 without a free hit, then I'm going to need to have a highly owned defender who can get attacking returns and probably clean sheets too. I just have to cover him off, and I need to get that sorted fairly soon. And I can do it because I've got money in the bank. So there's Trippier. Now, I then spent absolutely ages trying to find anybody else, because the problem that I have, as you'll see, is that I've got Cash and Anderson as my other options. I've got Shimikas too, but I'm not going to sell him. I think he comes back in for the Palace game. So between Shimikas and Trippier, that's 2 defenders sorted. So that's going from having 1 defender, when you think, 1 sure of starts defender, increasing that up a little bit, because the most recent game week it was just Anderson. He was the only one of my 5 defenders who's going to score me any points. A lot of work to do. Anderson's got Liverpool in game week 16, and Cash is at home to Arsenal, and a bit concerned he's lost his place. A lot of people have sold him. So, I needed to sell both Estupiñán and Van de Ven to make things work. So it's annoying to have to find another defensive replacement, because I hate everybody. I just hate everybody. All the defenders are rubbish right now. When you look at the season ticker, you've got over the next 3, because I'm sort of, leading into an 8, I'm dead ending into 18. Chelsea have the best fixtures, but their defensive kind of numbers have dried up a lot. I've always wanted to get Reece James for this run, to be honest, but haven't seen enough minutes from him to know that he's definitely sure of starts. We've got Wolves, who are second best with defensive returns over the next 3 in terms of the fixture schedule, but again, don't trust them. You've got Nottingham Forest and West Ham. They complete the top 4 for teams with the best defensive fixtures over the next 4. In terms of over the next 3, sorry. In terms of teams that are defending well, we've got Arsenal, are the second best for fewest big chances conceded. I already mentioned Newcastle, the best. So Trippier, as I said, is a no-brainer, but outside of that, it's a challenge. And then completing the top 4 are 2 teams I just did not expect at all. We've got Everton and Bournemouth. What's going on? Well, we've seen them keep 2 clean sheets in the last 4. They've got 3 wins in that time, so they really have started to kick on and actually get some results, and they're actually doing it by not conceding all that many chances. Now, you will look at the games they've played in the last 4 and say, well, they have played Crystal Palace and Sheffield United in that run, but they've also played Aston Villa and Newcastle. So 2 relatively appealing fixtures. The Sheffield United one more than the Palace one, but then 2 really difficult ones. And they beat Newcastle 2-0. They drew 2-2 with Aston Villa. So this is a team that's on the up, and there's been a lot of talk about Solanke, right? So knowing that there are very few options out there that I really like. There's going to be a lot of interest in the Chelsea defence, but I don't know how much I trust it after what I've seen in the last few days. And I look at the numbers as well. In their last 6, they've plummeted all the way to the bottom of the Premier League, or second bottom. No team has conceded more big chances in the last 6 than Chelsea, other than Luton. Luton are the bottom for that. So I'm not interested in Chelsea anymore, I don't think. I'm just not seeing enough to trust them. So I felt like, well, I'm just going to need to go for a differential. And I spotted Bournemouth, and then I spotted Bournemouth's upcoming fixtures. Now, admittedly, taking a hit for him this week is maybe a bad idea, and I could maybe sign him in 17, but I would ideally like to roll in 17 and take 2 transfers into 18. Bournemouth are playing Man United away this week. I could maybe start Cash or Anderson against Liverpool or Arsenal, but realistically, are they going to get me anything against those teams? Probably not. Senesi, who is the Bournemouth defender I'm looking at, has posted some interesting numbers recently. There's been a lot of talk around how we handle defenders right now. If they're not going to keep you too many clean sheets, then just go for the ones that are likely to get you attacking returns. So I had a look at some of the ones who were offering attacking returns, and Senesi has actually been offering a decent amount of XA and XG either side of the creativity and the goal threat. And so his expected goal involvement for the last 6 is 1.24. He has had 2 attacking returns this season. It's not loads, but he is definitely the most attacking of the Bournemouth defence. And in terms, he's basically the top 10 defenders for the last 6 matches expected goal involvement. Other inclusions in that include Alexander-Arnold and Porro, but I can't afford them if I'm getting Trippier, and I don't really like their fixtures all that much either. We've got Digne in there too, but again, same thing, don't really like the fixtures, and obviously I've got Cash, so that's also an issue. I'm only really looking at super cheap ones. So in terms of those under 4.3 or under 4.5, sorry, you got 8 Nori, you got Emerson, and you've got Senesi, and of those 3, Bournemouth have the better fixtures over the next 3, so it's a short-term punt. They've got the best defensive numbers as well, which has just come out of nowhere, really. So combining all of those things together, I'm not necessarily sat here saying, wow, look at this guy, he's going to be amazing. I'm just willing to take a chance on him, because as much as I've just talked about how I don't like to have a differential when I slip down, that's why I've gone for Trippier. I don't mind having a differential hand in hand with a more template pick, so I've sort of got a grounded differential kind of switch in my defence. As I said, the fixture this time out is not amazing, but we never really know what we're getting with Man United, although they are starting to improve, but so are Bournemouth. With the fixtures after that, that's where I like them a little bit more. So it's Luton and then Forest are 2 of the next 3 for Bournemouth. And when you look at some recent attacking numbers, in terms of XG, recorded in the Premier League over the last 6. Nottingham Forest and Luton are both in the bottom 3. So if I told you for 2 of the next 3 matches you could have a defender from a team who is in the top 3 for fewest big chances conceded in the last 6, going up against 2 teams that are in the bottom 3 for expected goals produced in the same period, you'd kind of feel like, I'll give that a go. And then, obviously, I'd then be like, surprise, it's a Bournemouth defender. You'd probably be like, oh, okay, well, if I'd known that, I probably wouldn't have said yes before. And the thing is that I try to be as pragmatic as I can in FPL. I try not to see the badge first. Sometimes you see the badge and all of those kind of conditioned things you have in your mind about not trusting a certain team can get in the way. The numbers are showing us that there's an opportunity here. And actually, whilst I was just going through that and having a look, re-looking at those numbers, interestingly enough, Man United in the bottom 4 for most chances conceded from set plays in the last 4. So you never know. We could get another attacking return out of Senesi. So yeah, that's who I'm going to go with for Game Week 16, I think. We'll obviously have to wait and see in terms of the those press conferences. So I'll just take you through what that means for Game Week 17 and 18, and if nothing else, it's a good way to show off what Plan FPL can do. So it would involve rolling my transfer for Game Week 17, and then I wouldn't make any substitutions, to be honest, because my bench is still not great. But actually, next week it looks even better, to be honest, because as I said, Senesi's going up against Luton at home. Trippier's got Fulham at home. Johnson does have Man City away, but of course, I'm hoping to get some saves there. Then you've got Saka against Brighton, Diaby against Brentford, or maybe Mbeumo against Aston Villa, depending on which of those 2 I keep. And then Palmer at home to Sheffield United, great option that week. Salah's at home to Man United, Bowen's at home to Wolves, and then I've got my Haaland and Alvarez double up against Crystal Palace, which I still like. I think it's worth holding for that. That is a fixture that on paper isn't a good one, but it has been quite some turnaround for Crystal Palace. They were doing really, really well for how rarely they were giving up big chances. They've all of a sudden plummeted right down. They're sort of in mid-table now for the last 6, but in the last 4, they're in the bottom 7. So I do think there's lots of attacking returns out of Man City this week. So that team right there, in my opinion, is rollable in the for trying to get my team into 18 with 2 free transfers. And I'll probably take a -4 that week. And that would involve getting rid of Saka to go to Gordon, because, of course, Arsenal away at Liverpool, and then getting rid of Haaland and Alvarez to get Watkins and Isak, although we'll have to wait and see what the striker situation is at Newcastle by then. If we can't predict who's going to start that one, I might even go for Solanke and have a Bournemouth double-up for a trip to Nottingham Forest based on some of those numbers I mentioned earlier on. And then Wildcard 19. So the end is in sight for my first half of the season team. It's costing me a lot in terms of my overall rank, but I think I'm going to just about crawl over the line in a rank bracket I'm not unhappy with, and then we really press on into the new year. So yeah, that's my plan for Game Week 16. Let me know in the comments if you think it's a good one, or if there's some obvious options I've missed out there, or perhaps maybe if you're in a similar boat to myself, if you've still got your wild card and you're really struggling to justify not using it, then let us know as well. And we'll see if you can help you out with that. Now, as ever, you've got to get yourself sorted with Fantasy Football Scout membership ahead of this deadline, especially going into Christmas. We've got so many game weeks in quick succession. It means you're going to get better value out of that 7-day free trial over the next sort of couple of weeks. If you want to try it at some point within that, you're going to get some great value out of it because we've got lots of deadlines coming up. Or if you get signed up in that period as well, again, you're just going to get bang for your buck because you get so many deadlines coming thick and fast. So make sure you check that out, and you can still save up to 20% as well. And today's video is sponsored by Betway, the principal betting partners of West Ham and the betting partner of Brighton. On Friday, they announced the heroes for the weekend. You can bet £10 on Player Market's top scorer of the heroes, and they will credit a £1 free bet for every point up to £20. Betway are also running giveaways, including shirts and tickets for West Ham and Brighton. We know not everyone gambles, which is something we take seriously, and that's why on our website we have a filter you can turn on, which allows you to opt out of gambling ads. For those who do so, enjoy it responsibly and safely. There's more info about Betway in the description. You, of course, have to be 18 or over to play, and we encourage everybody to gamble responsibly and to be gambleaware.org. When the fun stops, stop. Well, with that, I shall leave you fine folks to enjoy the rest of your preparation for Game Week 16, and I shall see you next time. Goodbye.